Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the March 6th Oldham County Board of Adjustments. My name is Larry Otterbeck, and we are now in session. We're now in session. Today's March 6th. It's a special meeting. The regularly scheduled meeting had to be postponed due to weather conditions, so thank you for coming to the March 6th. We have 3 cases before us today. I'm going to try to hold the procedures for all 3 cases to be the same. Here in a minute, I'm going to swear staff in. Mark's going to give read the report. Staff's going to come to the podium and give the staff report. There's going to be a round of questioning by board members to staff. When we're done with that, staff's going to take a seat. I'm going to call the applicant forward. You need to come forward to the lectern, speak directly into the mic. We have things being recorded, video and audio, so make sure if you're going to talk, you're up here speaking into the mic. But I'm going to call the applicant forward. You're going to come forward. You're going to raise your right hand, state your name and address, and be sworn in. You're going to try to justify what you're trying to do. There'll be a round of questioning by board members to you, the applicant. When we're done with that, the applicant may take a seat. I'll call forward anybody that wishes to speak in favor of the application, and then those opposed to the application. Same thing. You're going to come forward, raise your right hand, state your name and address, be sworn in, and tell us why you're in favor. And then there'll be a round of questioning. When we're done with those in favor, that group may take a seat. Then I'm going to call forward those in opposition. Same exact thing. Come forward, raise your right hand, name and address, be sworn in, round of questioning. Okay? When we're done with that, there's going to be time for rebuttal of the applicant. There's 5 minutes. Christy's got the clock. Let me go back and talk about the timing on all this. When I bring the applicant forward for the first time, you have 20 minutes to tell us, justify your project, justify what you're trying to do. Clock on the wall. Collectively, for those in favor, all together, you have 10 minutes to tell me why you're in favor of the application. And then same thing with opposition, you got 10 minutes. Tell me why you're in opposition. Clock's on the wall. Rebuttal time, the applicant, you'll have 5 minutes. And then there'll be, that starts with the applicant, the rebuttal does, and then we'll go opposition 5 minutes for rebuttal. Final statements, we'll start with the opposition for final statements, and then the applicant also has 5 minutes for final statements. 5 minutes, clock on the wall. When we're done with that, you may take a seat. I'm going to open it up for the board for questioning for anybody in the audience. When we're done, I'm going to close the floor for public hearing, open it up for a general discussion among the board members, and call for an up and down vote. Board members and everybody, please make sure your phones are off or on silent. If you need to take a call, please excuse yourself from the courtroom. Make sure it's back off when you come back into the courtroom. Board members, make sure your mics are on, and let's get staff sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay, Mark, you want to read the first one, please?
Oldham County Board of Adjustments and Appeal meeting March 6th. Docket number Oldham County 23015. Administrative hearing on the revocation of a previously issued conditional use permit at 1706 Riverside Drive.
Thank you. Ryan.
All right, thank you. Ryan Fisher, Director, Oldham County Planning and Development. So as Mr. Allen stated, this is an administrative hearing. Staff is asking the board to consider the revocation of a previously issued conditional use permit for a non-owner occupied short-term rental at 1706 Riverside Drive. It is zoned CO1 conservation and sits on 0.210 acres of property. Here is a picture of that location on Riverside Drive and the zoning of CO1. So on April 20th, 2023, this board heard a conditional use permit for a non-owner occupied short-term rental at this location. That motion did pass on a vote of 4-0. Those meeting minutes from that meeting are included in your staff packet if you need to reference those at any time. As with all of our conditional use permits and variances and everything you pass, you all usually attach conditions of approval. to those. Some of those are pretty standard. One that we're going to highlight here is number 5 that you added based on testimony that you heard at the hearing that day from nearby residents that had already had several concerns with short-term rentals in that area. And so the 5th condition of approval on this particular conditional use permit is that the property shall be monitored for security and noise and regulated by the property owner during any short-term rentals. So I want you to keep note of that one as we go along. So the applicant obviously requested that conditional use permit, was granted on that motion of 4-0 for that non-owner occupied short-term rental. This body does know that in 2023, we did change our short-term rental regulations to now no longer allow non-owner occupied short-term rentals outside of our commercial and office zoning areas, which is consistent of where we allow hotels and motels to go permitted by right. So anything outside of that area now, unless you live there, you now can no longer have a short-term rental. So this property is in CO1 zoning, so according to the new regulation, they wouldn't be allowed to have one, but as of right now, this is considered a legal non-conforming property. Some people use the term grandfathered, but the legal term to that is it's a legal non-conforming property. So it went through, it's got the conditional use permit, it's got current short-term rental permits on it, but it does not conform to our current ordinance. So staff did approve a short-term rental permit at this location after they were granted the conditional use permit. We granted that on June 16th, 2023, and subsequently this permit has been renewed every year. On October 9th for the 2024 year, and then on December 6th, 2024 for the current year of 2025. So the property does have a current short-term rental permit, is up to date, all that. So the kind of, so the day in question that we're going to really focus on is on December 15th, 2024 at 4:28 p.m., 16-28 hours for military or emergency personnel. A report of gunshots at this location was received by Oldham County Dispatch. Now, in your staff report, you do have not only the dispatch log, but you also have the subsequent police report. So officers from the Oldham County Police did arrive to find that some renters had gotten into a verbal argument earlier that day and had later returned when a fight ensued in the front yard. One occupant does come out of the residence and began to fire a pistol in the air and appeared on the video to point it at individuals. So I have included this video, and I'm going to let the video play in its entirety. After the moment in question, it's kind of just a lot of talking. I will apologize ahead of time for anybody watching or viewing this that there could be a expletive, but just want to make note of that. There is a lot of yelling. So I'll just let the video play in its entirety so that I can make sure that I'm not leaving anything out. So.
Yeah. What? You're like you touched me. I just got to sleep here. He's leaking.
Back up! Get back! Let him go! I'm on my way! You wanna get hit?
Where's the baby?
Get up! Oh, where's the baby? Where's the baby?
Where's the baby?
Everybody got to say. Y'all just busted up. Everybody got to say.
Let's go!
Everybody
Where's
got
the
to say.
baby? Y'all got the
I
baby?
got open.
Where's the baby?
I'm
Where's
gonna
she
get
at?
her. On my foot. I had
Go
to
get her.
Come get her. I'm on the side. Oh, get here.
Okay.
All right, let's go, baby.
Hey,
Come on.
come on. Let's get it.
We got to go.
Y'all can get out of here on your own time. Out of here.
Get them on your own time.
I'm gonna get my phone, Rico.
Hey, I called y'all. I wasn't on that, so chill out. Like I talked to you. I let her know what's up. Nigga, ain't nobody do that to you. Talk to
Right, we called y'all.
We called you.
Y'all could have had that. This is my shit.
Yeah, I asked her in the back.
We ain't got that's it.
It's 10 random people. I don't know
Who these people? I don't
chill out. I love you. I don't know who's doing it. Hey, nigga, yeah, I told y'all. Nigga, I got
Right.
y'all.
We don't
Nigga, not. You know you'll be covered.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You had it. You had it.
All right. So one male was arrested from that incident and taken to the Oldham County Jail. After that incident, 2 additional complaints were received from neighbors regarding this particular incident. And they also, in subsequent phone calls and things, did note that this wasn't the first time behavior like this had been seen at that rental. Nothing, I think, to this level, but both of those emails were included in your staff packet as well, so you have evidence of the 2 additional complaints. I've since received also some phone calls from nearby residents just concerned about safety in situations like this. I mean, obviously, a bullet went up in the air. It comes down somewhere. There's lots nearby that are empty that callers have said that, you know, grandchildren play in and that they were outside. This happened at 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. And so I will also say this, and that when we went through the changes for the short-term rentals to kind of look at the non-owner occupieds in residentially zoned property, and we had several on Riverside Drive that were I won't say issues, but definitely the HOA and residents showed up to speak in opposition. A lot of that opposition was in regards to things such as parties, loud noise, parking in other people's driveways. I don't think anybody sort of fathomed this type of behavior out of a short-term rental that could potentially be next door to anybody in this room. So in addition to this, as we've been investigating this case, there's also been work done around the property, and there's no record of any building or electrical permits being issued for that. This work does include the construction of a new deck, an electric vehicle charging station, as well as evidence of significant interior work from pictures obtained from the Airbnb listing. So our code enforcement officer, Adam Bear, who is here today in case we have any questions for him, did issue a notice of violation for work being done without a permit. He issued that on March 4th, 2025. I gave you all that notice of violation this morning. And a few of those pictures here are the deck construction, which our building inspector has noted that it appears that there's some deficiencies in that deck construction. So a couple pictures here of the deck, of obviously the post. Once a deck has already been built and hasn't been inspected properly, to understand the footer depth on that is something that's difficult to figure out, as well as all of this area is in the floodplain, which requires another layer of oversight in this matter. A couple pictures that our code enforcement officer did obtain through PVA records does show a aerial view of this property on January 7th, 2023. And then you'll notice the photo on January 3rd, 2024. There is evidence of the deck at that location at that time. And once again, no record of any building permit for a deck in our system at all. In addition, there is a new electric vehicle charging station that, according to our building inspector, that didn't really come out until about 2022. So this is a newer installation. But once again, no building permits on anything such as that nature. This is the listing off Airbnb for this particular site. And I'll bring this up to note one thing, and that's as we're going through the pictures on this listing. One of the things that we do in all of our hearings for a short-term rental is classify the number of bedrooms, and that number of bedrooms gives us our maximum occupancy, as you all have been in many of these hearings before, to understand how our regulation determines how many people are allowed to stay in a structure. So one of the pictures that caught my eye, and probably just because of my former career as a firefighter, is this picture here of a bedroom with bunk beds, and if you notice, that's directly in front of a window, which, if you remember from school, when you were younger, we have 2 ways out of every room. This pretty much prohibits anybody who's maybe sleeping in this bedroom from being able to escape if there's smoke in the hallway. So this is one that I just wanted to add in as well to show you the type of conduct at this particular property. So KRS 100.237, this is where you all get your right to be able to look at these conditional use permits. That KRS does state that the Board of Adjustment shall have the power to hear and decide applications for conditional use permits to allow that proper integration into the community of uses which are specifically named in the zoning regulations and may be suitable only in specific locations in the zone only when certain conditions of them are met. Thus the term conditional use permit, thus the conditions of approval that you all place on those. So the board, you all do have the ability to approve, modify, or deny any application for a conditional use permit, and the board shall have the power to revoke conditional use permits for non-compliance with those conditions that you all place on that property. And once again, I'll make note of that 5th condition of that the property shall be maintained for security and noise at all times during any short-term rentals. The administrative official, additionally, as staff, we have the ability every year to go out and check and make sure that conditional use permits are being used accordingly. Now, I will say that we don't have the staff to consistently do that, but that is one thing code enforcement officer does do, is when we have things that have conditional use permits, if they're not following those, the code enforcement officer and the administrative official, myself, do have the ability to check and ensure that those are being operated and in compliance with all of the conditions of approval listed on that conditional use permit. So the request for you all is that due to the severity of this situation, you all saw the video, you all seen the pictures, the adjoining property owner complaints that we have received, as well as phone calls, and the failure to comply with all of the conditions of approval that were in that previously issued conditional use permit that you all granted in 2023, we are requesting that you all, as the Board of Adjustments, revoke this conditional use permit for that property located at 1706 Riverside Drive. In summary, if you all do find that the facts alleged in the report that we've provided you are true and that the landowner has taken no steps to comply with them, the Board of Adjustments may authorize the administrative official to revoke the conditional use permit and/or take necessary legal action to cause the termination of the activity on the land in which the conditional use authorizes. So essentially, if the conditional use permit gets revoked today, because they would then be in non-compliance with the short-term rental, their short-term rental permit would also go away because they do not have a conditional use permit. So that pretty much concludes the staff presentation. Once again, I do have the code enforcement officer here if you do have specific questions about the site itself and what he found upon his inspection. He can entertain those questions as well.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Any other questions for Ryan?
Typically, like the egress issue that's typically a fire marshal type issue, right?
Correct, but really in a private residence, I mean, the fire department, unless they're going in to do an actual incident, doesn't have the right in a private dwelling to just come in and check for things. But once again, we classify those bedrooms, and when, in the application for a short-term rental, they do have to provide a floor plan. So any area that they mark as a bedroom, we have to make sure that on those drawn floor plans are a window to be able to get out. If not, even building code would not classify that as a bedroom. So, but in this incident, we definitely don't want a bunk bed in front of the window.
Sure.
So,
Sure. No, I recognize the importance of having an escape. And then I think when you were reading it, you said maintained instead of monitored for security as a conditional use. I just wanted to make sure which one it was. Okay, it is monitored.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan, I've got a few.
Okay.
How many bedrooms are in the unit? And maybe that's a question for the applicant when I get to that point.
Yeah, I was going to say, if not, I can look it up in the.
That's fine, that's fine.
short-term
I'll go
rental.
back to the applicant. What date did you issue the renewal application? In December?
The last renewal was issued on December 6th, 2024. And that was for the 2025 year.
December 6th. Okay. And then on December 15th is when the actual complaints were issued, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's when the incident happened, yes.
So on renewal, what does administration or administrative staff, what do you guys generally do for renewals?
So renewals are essentially just the first page of the form, and then the check. And then nothing really, unless anything changed as far as you added a bedroom or anything that would change maximum occupancy, we usually don't require anything else other than, to make sure that the responsible party is still the same. We make sure that they're still within the requirement of being within 25 miles of the property, and then the fee of $100, and that's really it. That all they have to do on renewal.
So typically, you don't go on site and take a site visit, and
Usually not,
it's just
no.
a questionnaire type thing. Are there any other complaints prior to December 15th?
Not that I've received, no.
Okay. You said the deck was not in complaint on the notice of violation from Adam. Yeah, I think you said the deck was not in compliance. You said the footers are difficult to ascertain, but I believe you said the deck still had some compliance issues. Did I hear that correctly? Is that the case?
Yes, and I don't know if Adam wants to speak to that. He's actually been in contact with the building inspector and went out there. And so the reason why a lot of this was found is, as you know, we just had flooding. And so the building and electrical inspectors have to go back out whenever there's flooding to check to be sure everything is good before power has to be turned back on. And that's when, as they were going through these properties, said, well, there's been a lot of stuff there that's new that we don't have any record of building permits on. So I don't know if you want to elaborate on what Matthew told you.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Chairman, point of order. I'm the attorney for the applicant here, and I object to this because he has not even received a notice of violation. I know nothing about this, and that's not why this is on the agenda today, for compliance. We haven't received a notice of violation. It's not on the agenda. It has nothing to do with the revocation issue, period. And he knows that.
I need her.
Huh?
Because you're a lawyer, Travis. You know that.
I'm a lawyer, but
Right.
So the notice of violation, do we take that into consideration for the hearing today? It was
what
presented.
notice of violation was it, sir?
There was.
It's not been received by the permit holder.
Well, I can't, how was it served?
So the notice of violation was sent out by regular mail. It's not a citation, it's just a notice that there is a violation on the property. And like all other notice of violations, it was sent out by regular mail. I believe I mailed it out Tuesday, because I went out and inspected the property on Monday.
Today's Thursday. He's only had one day of mail since then. He's not received it.
The point is that these are still violations on the property, that stuff has been built without permits. You're putting renters onto this property. That is all part of, if you're going to monitor your property for security, for noise, to be sure that your occupants are safe, there's been no permits that have been pulled on any work. So while he may not have received his notice of violation yet, because it was just mailed, the point is these are still things that have been occurring on the property, and you all need to know, just as the administrative official needs to know, this stuff has been up for 1.5 years. There's been no opportunity from the applicant to come into our office and simply pull a building permit. So that's why I bring it up. If we want to strike everything from the record, whatever,
He's bringing it up to prejudice the permit holder because that none of that
There's a
information.
permit for the
Wait a
electrical
minute.
system.
There's no information regarding any of that in this letter that he received
So-
regarding the violation that we're hearing today.
All right, you may take a seat. Travis, the notice of violation that was sent, can we consider this the notice of violation in the hearing today, other than the fact that there was a notice of violation issued?
Yeah, I agree that they have a right to know exactly what their response has got to be and what is going to be presented. Now, I'm a little confused as to why they haven't received this. Don't you post it on the door or hand it to them or something?
Citations would have been posted on the door. They didn't receive a citation. They just received a notice that the property is in violation of the not having a building permit and not having an electrical permit.
Okay, so
It's-
they did receive that.
It's been mailed to them.
No, we did not,
Hold
Travis,
it.
it's not a violation,
Hold it.
it's a notice. It's not a citation, it's a notice of violation. It was mailed regular 2 days ago, that's one mail day, he's not received it. It was not posted.
Well, I mean, they do have a right to know what they're got to defend today and present so they can be prepared for that. But if I'm a little confused as to why they weren't advised in some way, shape, or form before they got here as to what it was about.
Okay.
I didn't receive the complaint from Matt and Ryan about the building until last week. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday of last week. I know Matt was down there doing, like you said, inspections from the flooding. And that's when Matt brought it to Ryan's attention. It was then brought to my attention to go out and see what was done, when it was done. And I did my investigation on, after I found out about it, I went out, looked at it, and that's why it takes time.
Okay.
Was this on the docket the last time? Because when we had to reschedule?
On the reschedule, yes, for the February hearing, it was on there, and it was
On that
rescheduled. The notice of violation was not on there, on the February hearing. This is something new that we just received today.
Well, we may be in a position where we're going to have to give them an opportunity
Yeah.
to have an understanding of what we're presenting today and why they're in violation. And so we've delayed it once before.
Well, they're in violation because of the incident on December 18th, which is the reason why we're here today, of gunshots flying in the air.
Right.
So-
So I think, Tate, correct me if I'm wrong, we can continue the hearing today because of what we're here for is the gunshots.
Correct.
Right? This notice of violation, the statement that a notice of violation was sent, but any details thereof, we cannot take into consideration, just simply because the applicant has not had a chance to review that.
I agree with that.
Okay, so we can't talk about the deck, and we can't talk about compliance, and we can't talk about the electricity and anything that's in the notice of violation, other than code enforcement went out because we were doing an inspection and noticed there were issues. Can't talk about what they are because I haven't had a chance, but a notice of violation's been sent. Carry on.
I'm good with that, yeah.
All right, that's how, all right. So I withdraw my question
And I think
about,
council's okay with that as well.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
defend that at the appropriate
Yeah.
time when we have notice.
okay. All right, so I'm going to withdraw any question about the deck and compliance and footers and all that, where I was going down. I have one last question. You did say, Ryan, that they had a failure to comply with all the conditions of the previous CUP. Let's talk about that real quick. I'm going back to what was in the staff report, the previous CUP on this. The conditional use permit shall only apply to the application considered at the April 20, 2023 Board of Adjustments. So failure to comply with all the conditions of approval from the previous case, how is that one a failure to comply?
Well, I don't believe they monitored their property for security, and the nearby residents had to be subjected to bullets flying in the air.
Okay. The applicant shall comply with all the regulations concerning STRPs outlined in the Oldham County, exact same thing what you just said. The applicant shall apply for and be issued the STRP permit before renting the property. Actually, they were in compliance with that one, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Any expansion of the existing property must comply with FEMA, NFIP, and Oldham County. So that one, we don't, that one also has to do with
Right.
this whatever I just said, the notice of violation. So we don't know that for today. The property shall be monitored for security and noise, and that's exactly what we're here for. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Charles.
My question is, when we granted this condition, wasn't those things mentioned at that time?
Yes.
And did he understand those things at that time? He had no
Yeah,
complaints
you're-
about anything that we had written before in the last petition that was issued to us, right?
Right. I don't know if I can answer on whether or not he understood them or not, but
Well,
they were.
I have to assume then that he had a great understanding of what we were doing when we issued the last one.
We can ask the applicant. Yep. All right, any other questions for staff, or including Adam? Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. And if we can get 20 minutes, and if I can have the applicant come forward.
Mr. Harback, I'm treating for prostate cancer. Can I go to the restroom real quick before we start?
Let's get can I get a motion for a quick recess?
Yeah, we make motion that we have a brief recess.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Mic's off. Quick recess. Okay. I need a motion to come back into session.
Make a motion that we come back into session.
Can I get a second? Thank you, David. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, back in session. Okay, if we can have the applicant come forward, please. I understand you're an attorney. You don't need to be sworn in. What about you?
Yeah, this is the owner.
Okay.
You can swear him in.
All right.
And first of all, thank you for the
Yeah.
slight break. I appreciate it.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Thank you.
And the name and address.
Ahmed Fadil, 1706 Riverside Drive, Prospect, Kentucky, 40059.
Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. You want me to go ahead and question him? Be happy to.
You have 20 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell him your name again.
My name is Ahmed Fadil.
All right, and are you the owner of this property?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and
Let's get you speaking into the mic. Things are getting recorded.
are they picking me up? I talk pretty loud. They're not?
You got to be in the microphone.
Okay. And you are the owner of this property, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and how long have you owned it?
2 years.
All right, and the information staff provided about when the permit was originally approved is accurate, correct?
Correct.
All right, now, do you have other short-term rental units in the Oldham County, Jefferson County, Louisville area?
I do in Jefferson County, yes.
Okay, how many do you have?
I have about 7.
Okay, who manages these properties?
I do.
Okay, and with regard to, let's talk about security for just a minute. With regard to security at these units and monitoring these units, explain to the board how you do that and what you do.
I have like cameras with sound, I can pretty much hear and see everything, and it has like a motion sensors where there's an activity, it triggers, sends a notification to my phone, and that's how I'm able to monitor everything.
Okay, and do you monitor these properties, including this property, 24 hours a day?
Yes.
Okay. And with regard to this property, explain to the board what security measures you take with regard to this particular property at 1706 Riverside Drive.
I have cameras outside the building.
How many do you have? How many cameras are outside the building?
I have 2 on the ring bell.
Okay. Where are the cameras located generally on the structure?
One in the back and one in the front and one on the door.
Okay. And the video that was shown by staff, was that a video that one of your cameras captured?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So the only reason why that video is before the board today is why?
Because I provided it to the police.
Okay. And when this incident occurred on, I believe it was December, I want to say, wasn't it the 15th?
15th.
Yeah. So were you aware when this incident occurred?
Yeah, I was the one. I guess I'm one of the people that called the police station.
Okay.
And
You called the, tell them how you called the police station.
well, I called the police station, and I was in J-Town. They had to connect me to the Oldham County Police Station, and they said the police were already dispatched there.
Okay. So you contacted it. How did you see that the incident was occurring? Was it
I
on
saw
your-
it on the camera, yeah. I was trying to contact the guest. I saw the incident outside. I couldn't get a hold of the
Okay.
guest.
But how did you see the video? How were you watching it?
On my phone.
Okay, so these cameras send the
Send
video
it to my
images
phone.
to your cell phone. Okay, so on this particular day, while it was occurring, essentially, you were watching.
Correct.
Okay, and then you made a call to the Oldham, or to the police, and you were connected with the Oldham County Police.
Correct.
Okay, and then once that occurred, how did it come to pass that the police ended up with the video from the incident?
Well, yeah, so I was trying to talk to the Oldham County Police Station to connect me to the police, but the police were busy talking to the guests that were at the rental. So I got on the camera and I started talking to the police officer to have him pretty much reach out to me so I can pretty much provide the video to help him see what's going on, you know, how it all started. So and I ended up getting on the phone with the police officer. I emailed him the video, and we went over the whole video and pretty much helped him identify the person that was shooting. And because the police were pretty much leaving, they were wrapping up everything, they're about to leave. And that's when he went back and I helped him identify who was shooting. And
Okay, because originally they were not able to identify the shooter because he had changed clothes?
he had changed clothes, and like the people that came, I guess most of them had already left, which I don't even know really who came, what was going on there, because it just happened so fast. But yeah, he had went back inside and changed clothes, and that's where I was helping the police officer pretty much break down what was going on. That's when he went back and arrested the suspect.
Okay, so the reason why the police were able to identify the suspect and make an arrest was because of you? Correct.
Okay, and your security measures.
That's correct.
Okay, and then with regard to the individual responsible for the shooting, is it your belief that he was your guest that had booked?
No, because a female booked the Airbnb.
Okay. Do you know if he was how many people was it booked for?
Well, I believe it was booked for 4 guests.
Okay. Do you know if this individual that was arrested was one of the guests?
I couldn't tell on the, I was trying to match the profile of the person that booked, and I couldn't really identify if she was one of the people that was in the booking.
Okay, but you know for a fact that the person that booked was not the person, because it was a female, and she was a black female.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was a black female that booked, and the person that we've seen in the video.
Okay, with regard to your bookings, do you do it through Airbnb?
Airbnb and VRBO is the platforms I use.
Okay, do you have a vetting process for guests before you allow them to book?
Airbnb does. They verify their ID, they get their credit card account, and they link it, and they pretty much, they do all the verifications. They have all the system for that.
Okay.
And that's when I contacted the Airbnb and pretty much told them about this guest, and that guest is banned.
Okay.
Pretty much.
And do you have rules with your units with regard to parties and guests and things of that
Oh yeah,
nature?
it's in there. I even reached out to the guest before they checked in to make sure because it was a local, and I usually let locals know, because I don't really get a lot of locals, that there's no parties. This place is not for parties. I tell them about the hours, and it's even on the permit inside the unit.
Okay.
It's visible.
And staff made a comment that no one would fathom this type of behavior. Did you fathom this type of behavior at your unit?
No, sir.
Do you approve of this type of behavior?
Not at all. I know this is going to be, I know I'm risking my permit by talking to the police, providing that video, but I believe that's the least I could do, because I do not allow any type of behavior like that. This isn't, apparently, this is not okay, so.
Okay. All right. And with regard to all of your units, is this the process you use? You don't allow parties, you don't allow crowds?
Yes, of course.
All right, and you monitor everything?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is the first incident out of like hundreds of bookings.
Okay. And at this unit, how many bookings do you think you've had?
At least 300 or more.
Okay. And have you ever had any problem even close to the nature of this
No,
problem?
not at all.
Okay. And if the police contact you in order to testify and validate that video, would you be willing to
Of course.
testify in criminal court?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't think I have any more questions for Mr. Fayette.
Okay, if you can stop the clock real quick, please. You never did tell name and who you work for.
David Maurer, M-O-U-R.
Okay.
And if you let me approach, I'll hand you a business card.
Yeah,
Maybe. Yep.
maybe.
I've known Travis
Okay.
since I've asked him
All right.
40 years ago.
We need to get your address on record, so if you can state your address, please.
Mine, 513 South 2nd Street,
Yeah.
Louisville, Kentucky, 40202.
Thank you.
And my email and telephone and everything's on there.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay. That's the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Board members, questions for?
I have a question.
Yeah.
You renewed this on December the 6th, right?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay. Were you present at this renewal?
Well, it's done online.
Okay, done online.
Yes, sir.
At your first one, the first one you had to be here.
Yes, for the
Okay.
hearing to get the permit, yes.
Was it explained to you what the conditions and situation was when you dealt with it then?
The
Did you
conditions
not
of
know how
approval?
did you know what we expected of you in dealing with your property?
Yes,
You did.
yes, sir.
Well, yes, sir, and I think the only condition initially.
Sir, I was only asking him.
I understand, but I'm his lawyer and I get to
I-
speak on
I
his
was only
behalf.
asking him.
The only condition we're talking here is 5, where it says that the property shall be monitored for security and noise and regulated by the property owner during any short-term rentals. He did monitor the property for security and noise, and he's just testified to that. So yes, he was aware of the condition and he's complied.
I have a question. Did you remove the short-term renters during that incident, like immediately after that
Oh,
incident?
yeah, they were going, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
and you have no intentions to rent to those same individuals, right?
No, I got on with Airbnb, and I made sure this person is banned forever.
Okay.
I don't know if you know, Mr. Gray, but with Airbnb and these type of services, when he bans them, they're banned from everybody. I
Yeah,
mean,
because we're
they
pretty much
can't-
letting them
right.
know the guest's behavior, and it looks bad on them too, because they don't want bad guests going around using their name, because it's a big company.
Right.
And yeah, they're pretty much banned. I mean, it's just this is the part part of the process.
There's no short-term rental owner that wants anything even close to this.
Sure.
And they all, in that industry, there's sort of an air of, we won't tolerate this. And probably if you sent that video to them, if they can identify other people there, they won't rent to them either.
I did share that video with
Yeah.
them too. That's how they'll determine to ban them from
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So Airbnb has that video.
You don't have rules about weapons.
Not really. This is new to me. Really, I've never had. I mean, I really don't know what the process as far as like.
We do now.
I mean, I guess we can.
The problem with that, Travis, as you know, is you got a constitutional issue there.
Yeah,
Right.
That's pretty much it. So I really don't know how to approach this.
Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which side of the spectrum you're on, Kentucky has the most lax gun control laws in the country, and we are a constitutional carry
Because I
state.
had like police officers stay, I had military guys, so I really don't know like how to like. I don't know if it's constitutional to add it in the permit or in the rules. So I'll have to look into it and see what
Was the weapon that was fired, was it fired from the people in your place or?
Yeah, I'm not sure because there was a lot of people in.
A neighbor, the other neighbors, you know?
Was the gun fired from the other neighbor? What's the question? I'm sorry.
Was the gun that was fired by your guest?
Well, my attorney was saying, the guest that booked is a female, and the person that was firing is a male. So I really don't really know who fired what. All I did was I helped identify who fired the gun, and this is all I know.
And the other issue there, Travis, is staff said that the individual that fired the weapon came out of the unit. I don't know. I've watched that video 4 or 5 times. I don't see him come. He comes from the direction of the unit, but whether it was in the unit or it was in the trunk of a vehicle or it was carrying, we don't know, and I don't think the police know either. Unless, I don't know if that individual gave a statement or if anyone else there gave a statement, but from what he could see, because obviously he wasn't there, he was watching it on the video, but I saw what you saw. So where the weapon was, and that's the problem with any structure. You know, there's case law in Kentucky that says, you know, even on school property, I can have it in my trunk. So if, you know, I can say you can't bring it inside the unit, but if you've got it in your vehicle or in your trunk, there's nothing he can do. No short-term renter can control that. Right.
I have one more question. And this is just for me.
Sure.
Did you say that you all had moved those people out? They're gone?
So yeah, short-term rental is like 2 or 3 days, so they'll be gone. Like, and they ended up leaving like.
But they're still there, right?
No, they're not there.
Okay.
The house is flooded, by the way. So we're in the
This house
process of
it was about 2 feet underwater, which was one of the
so
deck
it's in the
issues.
process of getting.
But these people you threw those people out.
Oh,
there.
immediately.
That day they were gone.
Yeah, they were gone. Yeah. That's
as soon as the police left, he was over there. Did you go over there and throw him out?
No, well, the cops. I was trying to go there, but the cops had already arrived there, and they kind of like. By the time I got there, they already left. So I just took pictures of the condition of the place and sent it to the Airbnb.
Okay.
To report that everything that was happening.
Are you aware of any other complaints? I'm not speaking about what we just talked about, the notice of violation. Are you aware of any other complaints?
No, sir, I'm not. This is the only complaint I'm aware of.
Further questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
much.
much.
Take a seat.
Thank you.
I'd like to call forward anybody that wishes to speak in favor of the application. Those opposed to the application? Let's get the 3 of you to stand and let's get you sworn in. Everybody who plans on speaking in opposition. Okay, you're the only one speaking? Nobody else speaking opposition? Well, those who are speaking, I got to get you sworn in. All right, raise your right hands. Get you sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
All right, when you come to the stand, just state your name and address, ma'am, if we can start with you. Come on forward, please.
I'm just going to go up front so I can hear you. Go ahead.
You go right ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Name and address, please.
Good morning. My name is Cindy Harbin. I live at 1220 Riverside Drive. So I'm on the same street as this piece of property that we're talking about today. And I am asking that you all consider that this be revoked, because this Airbnb issue has been an issue that our community has not, that we have worked with the Oldham County for quite some time to get these items out of our community. Because we have a lot of individuals, and there's 50 in just my part. I live in Harmony Village, which is right next to Oldham Acres. But we are together when we come to do things. We share a lot of activities. So we have kids who are out playing. We have different activities from other communities that come and walk. I walk. I'm very nervous about walking in my community right now. And I have lived in this community for 40 plus years. So I've seen a lot of changes. Yes, we just came through a flood. But I think if we had had real security, this incident, while it looked like he had a whole lot more than 5 people at his Airbnb, that he would have gotten there quicker and we would have gotten things resolved. But it's not just this piece of property that we have issues with, but this is the only one we're talking about today. So I am asking, as a member of this community and as a representative of the Harmony Village Homeowners Association, who's been at every one of these opportunities, to speak against Airbnbs in our community, because our houses are very close. We live there full time. And with people coming in and out all the time, we know who our neighbors are. But when we don't know who our neighbors are, we don't know what we're getting. So I'm asking for you to revoke this situation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Ma'am, we'll go to you next. State your name and address, please.
My name is Joyce Ben, and I live at 14513 Oldham Acres Road. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to speak, but I wrote a letter discussing our complaints and what we're concerned about. Guns firing in the air, where the bullets are going, the safety of our children and the residents in the area. And also, as far as the security monitoring situation, I just want to bring up, living in a flood-prone area, there was a resident or a renter in that property. As we speak, the day before, the river or the water from the creek was going to block access to that property. And my husband and another neighbor had to warn the resident he better get out. And to us, we think if you have a place there on the river, you should be monitoring the river and not booking people to come in.
Okay. All right, thank you. And sir, you were the last one.
I'm Donald Barker of 3500 Hawthorne Court, LaGrange, also co-owner of 1704 Riverside Drive. I go down there to maintain 1704, and sometimes his renters have dogs, and sometimes they come into my yard unleashed, and 2 German Shepherds scared me severely one day. And let's see, I think since the incident in December, one of his cameras is missing, and the light in the rear shines so severely on our property that in the summertime, there's hundreds of thousands of insects on our property due to the extreme lighting shining over on us.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have any problems.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, time for, is there anybody else wishing to speak in opposition that we didn't get? Okay, we'll have 5 minutes for rebuttal, starting with the applicant.
With regard to the last speaker, I mean, those are issues that are addressed in other ways.
David, speaking to the mic.
Sorry. With regard to the last speaker, those are issues that don't really belong here, can be addressed other ways. If somebody has a complaint about lighting or insects, my suggestion would be take it up with the owner. This man doesn't want neighbors angry at him in the areas of his short-term rentals, but it really has no issue or no bearing on the decision today. with regard to guns firing, I'm a weapons person. I'm a former police officer, and believe it or not, if you shoot a pistol up in the air, the chances of a bullet harming someone you're probably got a better shot at getting struck by lightning. But be that as it may, again, there's been no guns fired at his property other than this particular incident. When you heard the testimony from him about his issue with regard to that and how he does monitor and how he took care of this incident in particular. I think the first lady that spoke is the more pointed issue I need to address, and that was Ms. Harbin. And basically, her argument is that we just don't like Airbnbs. We don't like the whole aura of it. We don't like the whole idea of it. We've protested it before, and we just want it gone. And I get her. I respect her position on that. I live in a neighborhood too. We all live in neighborhoods, and I get her position on that. But the fact is, these permits are legal, and he does have a permit. She then talked about security a little bit, and let me tell you something. I am a former police officer, and you can have all the security in the world, and things are going to happen, unfortunately. I mean, there was a rally in Pennsylvania last summer where the candidate for president of the United States was speaking, and with hundreds of police officers and security measures and Secret Service agents, somebody shot him. So he cannot prevent everything. The permit requires him, one of the conditions of the permit is that he has to monitor. He did that. You cannot prevent everything. There's no possible way that he would have known or anticipated that something like this would happen. I represented a property owner. They were down on 7th Street Road years ago, and he leased the property to a person that opened a bar there. And under Louisville's regulations, if you're a nuisance, which is 2 arrests on the property in a 1-year period, your permit could be revoked. Louisville police followed 2 drivers from other locations down 7th Street Road, turned in, and arrested 2 people in the parking lot for drunken driving about 6 weeks apart, and they tried to revoke the permit. We can't do that as government. Government has to be responsible and look at things, but we can't say, well, if somebody's driving down the road and they're a drunk driver and they run into that house and people are injured, that's on him. Obviously, he would monitor that and he would see it, but he is doing the monitoring. He's doing everything that he can do. And at some point, sometimes, unfortunately, security and monitoring fails. Now, he's not required to provide security. He's required to monitor, and that's what he did. So thank you, and I think that addresses those issues.
Okay, thank you. And we have 5 minutes for rebuttal on opposition, if anybody wants to come forward.
Thank you, I do. You're right. I do not want an Airbnb next to me. You're absolutely correct. But I have 3 closer to my neighborhood, closer to where I live on Riverside Drive, and we don't have any issues because we've gotten to know the owner, we know what's going on, those kinds of things. But I'm more concerned about what you didn't hear was that there were kids outside playing, that there was someone who had their grandchildren outside that day that those things happened. So those are the areas that I'm concerned. I have a son that walks every single day. I'm very concerned that we need to know what's going on in these Airbnbs. You know, maybe communication would be an issue. I don't know. So I disagree with you when you say I just don't want them at all. I have them. I have 3. So we are working together because we're trying to make it work. Oldham Acres has some too. So I do rebut what you had to say, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any further rebuttal?
I just want to say there were more than 5 people at that incident. There were 11. If you take
I'm having a hard time
account.
hearing you, ma'am.
I said there were more than 5 people at the resident at the time. There were like 11 people. And I don't call that monitoring, actually. So if you know you're monitoring, you can see how many people are there. You know, how safe is that with what's going on? And I think we would rather, for the safety of the residents, see a permanent resident than all these strangers coming in and out of our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other rebuttal? Ryan, is this part of rebuttal? We're going to have questions for everybody here in a minute. Yes, it is part of rebuttal. Okay.
Okay, I've got 4 things. First, I'd like for the clerk, if she got it, to read the address that the applicant provided when he came up.
"1706 Riverside."
Okay. So is that his home address? Or is that his rental? And the reason why I'm asking is because that's not the address we have on file. So if he's considering his home residence to be 1706, that becomes an owner-occupied short-term rental, which is a whole different ballgame. So the address we have on file that he has applied for in his permit is 8703 Chelmer Lane in Louisville, which could be an office number or an address or whatever. I just wanted to clarify that because our records indicate that that's his address, not 1706 Riverside Drive.
Okay.
The second point I'd like to make is that when you rent a short-term rental, and I just did this 2 days ago, you have to put on there the number of people that are going to be staying with you and their names and include any minors. So if he's monitoring his property, and he said that I believe he rented it out to 4 individuals, if on his cameras then he can see 8 to 11 individuals, that's already not in compliance of his short-term rental. And the renter should have been called if he's monitoring it and said, hey, you've got too many people there. Okay. The third point I'd like to make is he said he was monitoring his phone and saw this incident happen. If you turn to the Oldham County Central Dispatch log that is in your staff packet, you'll see that this call originated with a 911 call, which is not his cell phone number, at 4:25 p.m. On the log, he didn't call until 4:54 p.m., almost a half an hour after this incident occurred. If he's monitoring his property, I don't know why it took him a half an hour to then call dispatch to find out what was going on at his property or to notify them of the incident. And that is in the log from Oldham County Dispatch. His number there, his name, is currently renting out the apartment, and he made the call at 4:54 p.m. A half an hour, almost a half an hour after this incident even occurred. And then the fourth thing is just something the attorney said in his testimony, I guess as a ballistics expert, but he said that you've got a better chance of being struck by lightning than being hit by a bullet. But we know just last October at a festival over in Indiana, a young kid lost his life because a kid shot a bullet in the air. So once again, I'm not a ballistics expert. He may have testified to that, but I guess lightning strikes people more than we think, because a young kid lost his life at that festival. That's all I've got.
All right. Any other rebuttal from opposition? Okay, we're going to start with opposition on final statements and no new testimony. Does anybody have any final statements? Final statements for the applicant?
Thank you very much. And I'm kind of going to work backwards, and I'm going to address what staff said just now. First of all, when he was asked for the address, he gave the address for the property. That's not his home address. It's not an owner-occupied short-term rental, and he was not trying to suggest that in no way, shape, or form. That's his address on the application, number one. Number two, with regard to the violation, he leased it to one person. It was approved for 4 guests. This was at 4:30 in the afternoon. Yeah, there were more people than were staying there, but those people were not staying there. And if staff is suggesting, well, if you rent to 2 people, only 2 people can be on the property, we know that's not practicable, and that's not reasonable, and that's not how short-term rentals work. The folks that rent are allowed to have guests there, but only certain numbers of people can stay there overnight. And that's how short-term rentals work, and that's what you all approve. With regard to the 911 call, he did not make a 911 call to Oldham County Dispatch. He made a call to Louisville. And they had to transfer it over to Oldham County. He said Oldham County already knew, the Oldham County police were already out here because obviously someone else had called. But he called as well and worked with the police in order to make sure that this thing was handled correctly. And fourth, the kid that was shot in Indiana was not shot by a bullet in the air. That was a random shooting straight across, and a bullet travels about 3,000 feet per second. And when a bullet goes in the air, eventually that bullet stops and falls to the earth, and there's what's called terminal velocity. That's apples and oranges, and what he said is not true about that shooting in Indiana that kid pleaded guilty to a couple of weeks ago. Now, let me address the issue at hand here is, did my client monitor this property as per the conditional use permit? And the answer to that is absolutely. He absolutely monitored this property. He has, did you say 3? You have 3 cameras on that building? Okay. So there's cameras on that building. He monitors that building. When he saw this incident, he reported it to the police and took action himself with regard to these renters. And staff said at the beginning that the issue here is, has this man taken no steps to monitor the property as per the permit? Clearly he has. Clearly he has. So that which staff wants you to do, revoke his permit for taking no steps to monitor, you can't, because there's no legal basis nor factual basis to do it. Because the testimony, which is unrebutted, is that he monitors all of his properties, much less this property. So the myth that this man took no steps to monitor this property is just absolutely untrue. You heard the steps that he took. He complied with the permit, and there's no factual or legal basis to revoke this permit. Thank you very much.
Okay. Board members, questions for anybody in the audience? Next step is to close the floor and open it up for our discussion. Prior to doing that, any questions for anybody? Okay, I'm going to close the floor, open it up to general discussion among board members.
I can't see that it could, I would like to see it revoked, but I don't see where we can. The rules that we've got written down that are conditionally, by the conditional use permit, I don't see where we can revoke the.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see any violation of the conditional uses or the requirements of the conditional use permit.
Charles? Anything?
I don't see any violations with requirement with basic issues either.
Okay, further comments before I call for a motion?
I'd like to see it, I'd like to see it revoked, but I can't see where we can.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion. Actually, before we do that motion, I'm not quite sure. Obviously, I know what the case.
Would it be like a motion to sustain? Like to?
Yeah, that's what I'm grappling
Yeah.
with. Is I think we're all in agreement as to our direction. So, are we approving something? Are we not approving something, or sustaining the existing permit? I don't know how this motion should read.
Well, in my opinion, you got a real problem, and as far as the issues before the board today, and I'm thinking that the motion to dismiss, basically, is the proper motion.
So the request before us is to revoke the STRP. Yeah, so if we can make the motion to dismiss, if that's the direction, I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah, well, that's the way I would phrase the motion to dismiss.
All right, I'm ready for a motion. If anybody has any questions on what that motion should look like, speak up.
I move that we move not to remove the conditional use permit, to dismiss the revocation.
Is that good enough?
I'll
Okay.
second.
Thank you, David. Any discussion? All in favor with the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion stands. Okay. Mark, if you'd like to read the next one, please.
Oldham County Board of Adjustments and Appeals, dock number Oldham County 25004 for conditional use permit for a home occupation by Anna Fabrics at 7707 Floydsburg Road, Crestwood.
Okay, you're up, Anna.
Hello, Anna Bard, Senior Planner. Good morning. And thank you for being here on a special day to y'all and to everyone in attendance. Yes, so this case is at 7707 Floydsburg Road in Crestwood. The applicant is asking for a conditional use permit so she can have a home occupation at 7707 Floydsburg Road in Crestwood. So it's zoned R2 residential and just under an acre. So the site history for this one, on December 2nd, Code Enforcement Officer Bayer opened a code enforcement case relating to operating a home-based business without proper permitting. The applicant was given a verbal warning and instructions to apply for the conditional use permit, which she has done, which is why we're here today. She already had permits to the state, which she can talk about further as far as the food-based business. And she can go into more detail on that when it's her turn to speak. So the agenda, I forgot to update the case history on this, but it is correct in your packet. So originally it was posted on the website on January 30th, but it was updated on that day of the meeting last month when we had the delay. So we went ahead and thankfully it was not too hard to get everybody rescheduled for today. And so subsequent notices were mailed out and posted in the Oldham area. So this is the site outlined in red. And this is R2 zoning, as the whole surrounding areas. So the applicant has a home bakery and she would like to continue doing that by getting a conditional use permit. She's trying to come into compliance here. So Oldham County Zoning Ordinance Section 260-230, which I've included in your packet, regulates home occupations. So general standards for those include no alterations to the external appearance shall be made to the residential character, including signage. And then the same section also states that no display of goods, products, or services shall be visible from outside of the dwelling. The applicant has also submitted a home occupation application, which will be considered as a administrative review if this conditional use permit's approved. So it's similar to a short-term rental permit. When they have to get that conditional use permit and come to this board, then they also have to submit a short-term rental application, which will be considered by staff. Same type of thing for this type of home occupation. They have to get a conditional use permit and get that approved by this board. And then they also have to submit the administrative document, which she's already submitted in preparation if the board chooses to approve this case. So highlighted in yellow on the screen is what I provided to the board in the staff packets, that no alteration to the external appearance shall be made to the residential character, including signage, and then no display of goods, services, or products shall be visible from outside of the dwelling. And so this is just continuing the regulations. And I don't believe she has any other employees. I believe it's just herself, but she can answer that as well. So this is the floor plan that she provided along with the signage up pickup and the just the photos from outside. I wasn't able to get Google Street View because either the applicant or somebody at some time has applied with Google to blur out their house. So you cannot view it from Google Street View, but she did provide adequate photos and supporting documents. In summary, the applicant is requesting a new conditional use permit for a home occupation for 7707 Floydsburg Road in Crestwood. I should have probably not had that word if it's confusing. There's not an existing one there. So the conditional use permit shall only apply to the application considered at today's March 6th special meeting of the Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing, and the applicant shall comply with all regulations concerning home occupations outlined in Oldham County Zoning Regulations Section 260-230. But you can add or remove any conditions as you see fit as a board.
Okay.
And we have not received any letters of support or any letters against this from the public.
Okay. Thank you. Questions for Anna?
Just one.
Yes.
According to these regulations, is there anything concerning the customers? How many customers at a time, and parking?
So there is, I believe, there may be a parking. That's a good question. In our regulations. I think she talks about.
At a time.
I think she does talk about her parking in there, but let's see.
There are regulations about parking.
Yeah,
Vehicles, it says, that the plan should talk about that, and she does include the plan in the the packet, but I don't know if it did talk about that.
Somewhere it might not be with home occupation. It might be like maybe event space or something, but we do have regulations.
I think it's about parking and how many
I think
customers
it's
at a
event
time.
space though.
So I think number 4, number 4 on your, on the home occupation regs talks about the one employee other than the member of the family that reside on the premises shall be permitted given an additional off-street parking space is provided. So if they have somebody other than who lives there, they'll have to show parking, but I don't believe it's.
Okay.
There's no regulations as to 14, 15 people coming at a time to a residence?
So I wouldn't think so. I mean, double check, but think about like if you're on a half an acre versus 100 acres
Yes.
and you're trying to open, how can you have a regulation stating the number of people?
And I think that's up to this board to kind of apply as far as a conditional use, right?
Well, that's what I was asking about.
Given, right, I don't think there's regulations, given the specific case.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can set conditions.
I was going to say, and then number 8 does talk about deliveries, that vehicles used for delivery and pickup are limited to those normally servicing residential neighborhoods.
And number 7 as well, like on commercial vehicles, the board can review that as well. As if you see there, it says commercial vehicles used for home occupations may be permitted. However, they will be reviewed by the Board of Adjustments on a case-by-case basis, depending on. So I believe if you want to, add that as a condition of approval, that only X number of cars, customer cars, can be there at a time. Now, maintaining that and verifying that, like enforcing that, might be a little bit more difficult because I don't know.
That's complaint driven.
Yeah, it's complaint driven. So, I mean, and there's tons of things that we struggle to enforce that are rules. I'm not saying you should.
I was thinking that there was regulations for that, or if there's not, then it's a moot point.
Yeah, okay.
Can you go back to the pictures?
I can't remember which section that was in.
Toward the end, I think it's right there. Signage at pickup, what does that say other than open?
Flowers, maybe, something eggs. The applicant can answer that.
All right. This is before us because of a code enforcement. How did that, what was the complaint and how did that come about? Go ahead, Adam. Did somebody just complain that my neighbor is operating a business?
So the complaint actually was sent to me by the LaGrange code enforcement officer. I believe there was a post on Facebook, someone talking about you could go here and buy bread.
Okay.
I don't think theirs was literally a complaint, but then it was brought to LaGrange code enforcement officer saying, is this allowed?
Okay.
And then LaGrange sent it to me and said, Adam, have you checked into this? And that's how it got started.
All right. Okay.
There was
Thanks,
no
Adam.
actual official complaint to me other than, is this allowed?
Okay, thank you. So I guess thanks, Adam. And I think that's my questioning then, is that signage, flowers and eggs and bakery and, whatever that, then, so we'll ask the applicant that, but that's my line of questioning with that.
Yeah, so that's technically not allowed by the rules. I think, is that what you're going at?
Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Am I looking at where it says signage of pickup and per staff, and I'll ask the applicant same thing, but that signage on the second picture down there is that you that took those pictures?
No, this is what the applicant submitted, all of this.
And I don't need to be asking you.
Okay, great.
Any other questions for Anna?
Well, I'll actually wait on this question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Anna.
Okay, awesome.
If I can
And
have
I'm going to leave this up so the applicant can answer your questions
All right,
relative
thanks.
to
If I
this.
can have the applicant come forward, please. I need you to be sworn in and state your name and address.
Hannah Fabish, 7707 Floydsburg Road, Crestwood.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
And if you can justify your project.
Good morning. My name's Hannah Fabish. Thanks for your time today. I'm going to just read off of this that I wrote. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
I can tell you it's a little soft, so if you can speak up the best you can.
Okay.
Thank you.
I run a small-scale home-based bakery that I just opened this past summer. specializing in sourdough bread. Primarily, I just serve our local neighbors, community, friends, people that want to come by. Most of my sales are prearranged. I have an online website that people can order ahead of time, and then it's a pickup service. But I do also have a few extra products that I put out for just with the open sign. People will just swing by and pick something up off the stand. The setup allows for limited, low-impact sales without creating very much traffic. Maybe, I think the most I've ever had is 2 cars have pulled in at the same time. The pre-orders make up the majority of my business. Occasionally when people pull in, it's not a traditional retail bakery. There's not set store hours open every day. I'm just open 2, sometimes 3 days that I'll hang my open sign out and put baked goods out. Because of the pre-order system, most customers' pickups are planned and spaced out. Occasionally cars will pull in to pick something up, but traffic's pretty light. I have a large flat parking lot out front that we don't park in. We park in the back, so it allows for quite a few cars. But like I said, the most we've ever had have been 2 cars that have come through. I do comply with all health and food safety regulations for a home-based business. I've applied for it's a home processor license that they grant. I'm open for inspections if they ever want to come and inspect my kitchen. I don't have industrial equipment or waste. It's just a standard kitchen setup. I'm offering fresh, organic, high-quality sourdough to neighbors. My business is quiet with controlled customer interactions, just providing local goods to the neighborhood. And that's all.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
Yeah, so good morning. What type of vehicles typically do you have coming onto the property as far as deliveries, trash, not just residential?
Oh, just nothing special for the business.
Okay.
I go to the store and buy what I need. I don't get a delivery
So no
vehicles.
large transfer trucks or anything
No.
like that? And do you have an estimate of how many customers per day?
Probably an average of 4 or 5.
Okay.
I'd say.
That's per day, 4 or 5 per day?
4 or 5 per day. Some days maybe 2 people. I just started. I haven't been open for a real long time.
Yeah.
When did you start?
So we built this stand. I didn't know that I needed a permit for this, and we put it out like I already grow vegetables and flowers, and my kids do it with me. So we just started putting that down. Like my daughter was selling flowers, and I put some bread down there, and it started selling. So I was like, I better get a license for this. So I contacted the health department, and they said apply for this license, and I got that. So that was in the summer, and it just sort of grew to where I was like, okay, then I'll make it an official business thing. So
That's last summer, 2024.
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
Could you tell us more about the state permit?
The health department permit. So it's a cottage license. I can cook out of my kitchen, and I have to list the items that I sell. It can't sell things that need to be refrigerated. So with like cheeses and butters and things that would spoil easily. So I just listed for them that I just make cookies, scones, sourdough bread. It's all pretty shelf stable, safe. And then if I'm in compliance with them, then they grant me a year license, and then I have to renew every year for it.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
How do you advertise your business?
Well, I was just on a local Facebook page. I would post stuff about it. I didn't know that if it's a business, I'm not supposed to do that or do pictures. So really just the sign and word of mouth now. I have a website. So if customers stop by, they could scan follow me on Instagram or follow me here. But I can't post it on Facebook groups and stuff anymore.
You have a picture of your signage at pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Was that installed for your bakery, or was that something that was there before that? You're just using it for the bakery?
That open sign there?
Yes.
It says in the summer it said flowers, sourdough, vegetables. So it was for whatever we had on the stand that day.
So it was already existing before you started the bakery?
Yes. Yeah, and I don't have a business name on it. I've now gone and I don't remember the name of what I needed to apply for here. It might have been like a tax ID or something. And I now have a business name, but I don't have that on the stand right now.
Just so I understand, last summer, I believe you mentioned your daughter, I believe, but you and your family you were selling flowers and selling a little here and there. You were putting in the stand, you put it on Facebook, you were getting business, and now in your mind, you're like, well, wait a minute, this thing's starting to grow a little bit. What can I do? And so now thoughts are, hey, I need to apply for a license and let's see what I can do with this thing. That's kind of where we are right now, right?
Yeah, I think I applied for the cottage license pretty quickly.
The what license?
The cottage license for the health department because I didn't want to sell food illegally. And so I got that back in maybe September-ish when it took off. And then by November, December, my husband owns his own businesses. So he helped me kind of make a business plan for it.
Okay.
And like, let's make an official
So you're
business.
trying to make an official, so if this were approved today, I can tell you there's going to be all kinds of conditions placed. So where do you see yourself, where do you want this thing to be 2 years from now, 5 years from now? Do you want employees? Do you want deliveries and commercial deliveries and a large bakery? Or is it, my intent is not, it's always going to be me and no employees and no more than good night. I can only do 10 loaves of bread a day by, so tell me the goals, 2 years, 5 years, short-term plan, so that we know what kind of conditions we're going to place on this thing.
Okay. I definitely want to keep it small. I have 6 kids, and so it's like something I can do out of my home to help supplement at home. If I were to 5-8 years from now, if it really took off and I wanted to go bigger, I wouldn't probably do it out of my home. I would probably want to get a commercial kitchen and do something different. I can only, the most I could do would be like 10. Right now, my limit is I try and just have 8 loaves of bread 3 days a week if I did it perfectly. I don't do that all the time right now. So it's really small, and my goal is to keep it pretty small over the next few years while my kids are home and little.
Wait, would you just say 8 loaves a day, 3 days a week?
If I did all 3 days. I mean, I'm pretty like Tuesdays and Thursdays, customers order, so I have their orders ready, and I set my limit at 8. Time-wise, I can't bake more than 8, and then also do the rest of our life. So I just in the morning.
Do you ever intend on if this thing were to grow, and do you intend on 5 days a week, 7 days a week, 8 to 5 type of hours?
No, I don't think so. I don't want employees or anything. I just want it to be
just you, no
just
employees.
Me. No, I didn't really want a business, but I feel like I have to make it legal, so that's why I'm doing
it. Signage other than, the stand there and other than Facebook, do you plan on, would you want a sign, a lighted sign that says fresh baked goods, or is it always Facebook type thing with a small, whatever kind of stand that's called, farm stand?
It's like small hand painted signs that my business name and logo, I thought about having like a small one of those in the same, about like that, about that size out there. But outside of that, I wasn't going to do any larger.
All right, I can tell you, there are signage regulations. I don't know what they are for residential R2 zone types, but we can get past that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just to match the character of a residential neighborhood. Okay. So,
any other questions? So your operation, you said 3 days a week is what you want? What are those 3 days?
Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
So I offer pickups online. People pick which day they want to pick up, and they put in their order, and those are the 3 days I offer.
For pickup?
For pickup. And so then on those days, like if somebody ordered, if I have 4 orders, so that's like 5 loaves, I might bake 8 and put 3 more out there in case someone wanted to swing in and pick them up. And sometimes I don't even have extra. It's already sold.
Right. Are you going to have any activity related to the business Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday?
No.
Baking? No business related activity?
Like in my home, like would I be baking?
Yeah.
Well, because it's sourdough, like I would start it on Monday, bake it or sell it on Tuesday. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm cooking all the time, like all the time in my house, anyways.
I think just having a clear cut, no more than X number of customers per day.
Maybe that's how we do this. Yeah.
I think it's simple and direct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Hannah, the picture there, you know, the little signs open and flowers and whatnot. On the second picture below, is that to the right of your driveway? Is that what I'm seeing there? Is that
The white, yes.
right behind the fence, the beginning of the fence?
Yes.
So I'm saying, is that little stand?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Do you plan on, you know, expanding the size of that or doing anything?
No, I don't want to.
Okay, all right, all right. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Hannah.
Thanks.
Is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the applicant or application? Yes, ma'am. Need to get you sworn in. State your name and address.
Darlene Powell. I live at 7705 Lloydsburg Road, next door to her, Crestwood, Kentucky.
All right, Darlene, and raise your right hand. Be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that she's been my neighbor since 2018. I've lived there since 1978. It was my husband's family home since 1955, so we've been there a long time. I don't have any opposition. Like she said, it's exactly like she said. There's not more than 1 or 2 cars at a time, maybe 3 cars a day, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I don't have any complaints, and I haven't heard any complaints from any of the other neighbors. So,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody else wishing to speak in favor of the application? Anybody here wishing to speak in opposition to the application? Board members, questions for anybody? All right, I'm going to close the floor, open it up for general discussion.
As far as the number of vehicles per day, I mean, I think 10 would not impose any issue on neighbors or impact the neighborhood in any way. Any thoughts?
Yeah, so just, and maybe that's all we need is to restrict, you know, the vehicles, the traffic. That in of itself will restrict the number of, you know, how much baking is done and number of customers and the number of employees. I mean, just simply by restricting number of vehicles, that might kind of cover everything. Everybody, what are your thoughts?
What number would you put that at?
You put it at 10.
At 10?
10 a day.
Under condition, this is what I had.
Yeah.
Had no more than 10 cars a day.
I'd agree to that.
And then no more than 6 to 8 customers a day. And then keep the signs small, no lighted signs. No more than 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and pickups. Keep it small, work from home business.
So some of that was subjective, and staff, if I can get Anna, signage on R2.
Something we have to consider is this is kind of held separately than the zoning regulation, signage regulation for different zoning types. So this is home occupation. This is a different bucket.
Okay.
So technically they're not allowed signage. Now, if you reviewed the case and said, hey, the existing signage that she has is very small. It doesn't obscure view of pulling in and out or anyone driving on the road. It doesn't cause safety issues. And you want to allow her to have the existing signage, then maybe you can make that as a condition of approval. And then any changes have to be reviewed at the administrative level, something like that. Because typically, if, say, they have a legal sign that's already been approved, and then they just want to change the face of the sign and no dimensions, they don't have to go get a new sign permit.
So could we say something like the signage must not be lighted and fall within the general character of what is presented at the March 6th? And
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Charles, sound good? No lighted signage, and the general character must match what is presented before us today.
And I think that gives us enough discretion if she needs to update the signage for any reason.
Falls within the general character.
Right. You know, if things decay after time. So if she wants to update it to make sure that it stays new and nice, then she can do that.
Okay.
So that gives that
Thank you,
room.
Ann.
Yeah.
Okay. Charles, you mentioned, you said number of
I said, these are my conditions again. Number one was to keep it small, work from home business. No more than 8 loads a day. That's what she said. No more than 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and her pickups. Keep the signage small, but keep the existing sign. Now that's changed. Keep the existing sign, no lighted signs. Keep the general character of the existing sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
But regarding
but we need to add no lighted signs.
Yeah.
That needs to be the no lighted sign.
Do we need to-
It has an existing sign. So
Do we need to limit the number of loaves she can bake a day?
Well, that's what he has, 8
Yeah,
loaves, 3 days a week.
yeah.
I'm thinking, per what David said, is no more than 10 cars a day, kind of restricts all that. So do we?
But she just said she does 3 loaves a day. We're giving her 5 or 6 more loaves a day. This is what she's saying. Now,
No,
based on her testimony.
She said 8 loaves, 3 days a week.
Did you say 8 loaves 3 days a week? Okay. So that's 2 more loaves, and that's 10 loaves a day, right? What did I say?
But we have no way to monitor how much bread she actually makes.
We have no
And
way of
then maybe
monitoring
if it's
anything
a
she does
holiday
unless we go over
season,
there.
maybe she makes more during a holiday season or
Right.
something. So.
And
Yeah, I think I like David's idea of just saying, restrict the number of cars, and that's it. We don't talk about loaves, we don't talk about number of days working. You just say, pick, the number of cars per day, and that guides everything.
Restricted to what? How many? 10 cars?
10 cars a day, that's what David threw out there. And
10 cars a day. Then all these other conditions are out. Okay.
And then, so that restricts the
Everything.
activity, and then let's address the sign.
Yeah.
And
And we're gonna keep the sign, the general characteristics.
Yeah.
No, and we put in parentheses, no lighted
Yeah,
signs.
yeah.
And then, okay, got no
right.
problem with that.
Can I address one more thing real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so on your screen right now, the no display of goods highlighted at the end under section C shall be visible from outside the dwelling. I don't know if you want to add that as part of a condition of approval, if you want to allow what she has. So we don't typically, if we take the home occupation out of it, we don't typically regulate buildings that are under 120 square feet. This is significantly smaller than that, but this, I believe, and I can't speak for her, but I believe this prevents the customers from having to come inside of her house to collect the bread or other goods. And so I don't know if you want to add, if you are okay with the existing structure, if you want to add that as a condition of approval, or how you would like to address that. Because technically that's not, just like the sign is technically not allowed in its existing nature unless you have reviewed it and deemed it okay and added as a condition of approval to get it up to compliance, I guess.
You're talking about the little
bread box. Yeah.
Storage thing.
That's how we interpreted it. The no display of goods, products, or services shall be visible from outside the
And
dwelling.
you're saying that little, what we're calling bread box,
Mhm.
that is in conflict with that statement.
It could be. Now, some may interpret it, she's making it where the goods are not visible by putting it in the box. So it depends on, it's kind of that gray area, and that's more of up to you as the board to determine how you want to handle that situation. But I did want to bring it up to you so that if you wanted to incorporate that into your binding elements, or if you just want to say it was okay because maybe it's not visible, that was you as the board to kind of take that discretion.
Didn't she say that they already had a sign out there telling what they're selling?
Yeah.
Yes, and we're talking about the box in particular.
The farm stand.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I mean, the farm stand does match the residential character of the
Mhm.
site.
I've already closed the floor, ma'am. Yeah, we're good for now, unless somebody needs to open the floor. What are your thoughts, everybody, on the the stand?
I mean, I think we should specifically note it in the
Okay.
motion.
What do you want to say?
What I have is no displays of goods or products or serving shall be available from outside the dwelling.
I think adding something like this permit does allow the usage of the existing farm stand so long as it
Yeah.
maintains the residential character.
Okay. All right. All right, anything else? Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Well, I don't know what the last thing that you want to put down was.
So.
Well, you can make
Oh,
a
okay.
motion. You want me-
All right. So I'd like to move to approve the conditional use docket OC 25004 because the proposed use is essential and desirable to the community and not in conflict with the elements, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan based on one or more of the following factors. Granting a conditional use permit will allow the proper integration into the community of a use named explicitly in the zoning regulation. The character and objectives of the proposed use and the potential impacts on the community and its surroundings are appropriate. As far as conditions on approval, this conditional use permit shall only apply to the application considered at the March 6, 2025 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing, and this application shall comply with all regulations concerning home occupations outlined in the Oldham County Zoning Regulations, Section 260-230. This permit does allow the use of the existing farm stand so long as it maintains the residential character of the neighborhood. The existing signage is also approved, but there should be no changes and no lighting of the sign, and that the general character of the sign will be maintained with what was presented during today's hearing. As far as the limitations on the daily traffic, we want to see that there is no more than 10 vehicles per day coming for the business. So that doesn't include anything outside the scope of the business. But I think that's all of the conditions.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mark. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's been approved. All right. Mark, you want to read the last one, please?
Oldham County Board of Adjustments and Appeals, the March 6th meeting, dock number OC 25005. A variance is being requested for a road frontage variance on 5400 West Highway 42.
Okay, thank you.
John Hine, Oldham County Planning and Development Services. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, this is for a road frontage variance at 5400 West Highway 42 in LaGrange. I apologize if the staff packet says, in Goshen. I apologize if the staff packet originally said LaGrange. That was a confusion on my part. The road frontage variance is for a proposed 2.5 acre lot to be broken off at 5400 West Highway 42. Current zoning is Ag 1 and CO1. The land use is agricultural residential, and they are seeking to break this 2.501 acre tract off of 142.5 acre tract currently in existence. Site history, on December 15th, 1994, a variance was approved by the Oldham County Board of Adjustments allowing a parcel with no road frontage to be created. And then in the related case to this, on the 28th of, January 2025, an access easement waiver was granted by the Oldham County Planning Commission, allowing for this fourth parcel on the access easement, and that vote passed 8-0. Case history, we have the agenda posted on the website for this special meeting on 2/21 of 2025. Joining property owners notices, were mailed the same day, and the public notice appeared in the Oldham Era on the 27th of February. Here is the proposed plat, the existing aerial, and the existing zoning. The applicant is proposing to create a new 2.501 acre tract to be known as Tract 2 from the 142.5 acre parent tract in Goshen. Here is a rough rendering of that 5400 2.501 acre tract. In creating the new lot, the original Tract 1 becomes a 140-acre lot to be known as Revised Tract 1. Larger view of how it looks. The required road frontage for property zoned Ag 1 is Ag 1 at 2.5 acres or more is 300 feet. As you can see in our ordinances here, 150 for less than 2.5, 300 for lots greater than 2.5, and this just meets that threshold. The newly created 2.5 acre tract has 0 feet of road frontage, therefore requiring a road frontage variance of 300 feet. In creating the new lot, the 140 acre revised tract 1 has 0 feet of road frontage as well, but has already received a road frontage variance by the Oldham County Board of Adjustments, as noted in the site history. So, yes, we're looking at a 300-foot requested variance for this 2.5 acre tract 2. The potential conditions of approval for this would be the road frontage variance shall only apply to the plan considered at today's meeting of Board of Adjustments at the public hearing, and that a minor plat must be submitted to the Oldham County Department of Planning and Development Services for approval at staff level.
Questions for John? Go back to the, keep going, I'll tell you when. It's a picture, no, keep going, right there. Go one more.
The one I split off,
Where's
perhaps.
42?
Oh, where's 42?
Yes.
42 is to your north.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The perhaps. Oops.
Yeah. So that's my question is where's 42 and all these other parcels?
Sorry. 42, you can see on this one. It's here, and then this access easement runs down this side, and the applicant can perhaps explain that.
Okay. How many?
Here,
right
sorry.
there.
Here we go. You can see.
That's the access easement right
This
there?
is the access easement here, yes.
And it's servicing how many properties?
4 now, if this is approved. Currently servicing 3. This would be the 4th parcel.
Don't we have what is regulation, 3 or 4?
4 or 3 is the regulation, but that was what was approved at the January
To have
plan,
a 4th.
to have a 4th parcel on this access easement. Yes.
Okay. Which, so it's servicing, I guess just point the 4 out.
I believe it would be the top parcel and then 5402, 5400, and 5404.
Okay. Well, that's 5. 5400, 5402, 5404, and then the top 2.
I don't know if this was counted as only one parcel. I'm
Okay.
not sure on that.
All right, we'll have to. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you. And if we can get the applicant to come forward, please. Morning. Need you to get you sworn in and state your name and address.
Yep, my name is Jeff Wattsroy. I live at 1329 South 3rd Street in Louisville, 40208.
Do you solemnly, raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And if you can justify the project, knowing that I'm going to question the access easement and all the.
Sure. Yeah, I don't have any sort of presentation. I'm just happy to answer any questions about the lay of the land up. One thing to point out, this 5404, there was a house there that burned 2 years ago. So that was given an address by the fire department at that point. So I think we had to put numbers on all of the homes. This is a family farm. The house that we're making a plat out of was my grandmother's house. So my wife and I are going to purchase that from her to pay for her long-term care. This lot here is my mother's lot. It does not have a home. She just used to grow daylilies there. And then my aunt and uncle have a house here. So there are only 2 homes on the property. The rest is just all the other structures are barns.
And what about the front 2 lots?
Which ones? Everything in red is ours. This is owned by, yep, that's owned by Alex Rankin.
Okay, is there so the top 2, the one that you just said was owned, that one and that, yeah, those two there, they're owned by somebody else.
Other folks.
Are they, are there homes on those lots right now? It looks like,
No homes on this one.
Okay.
On this one, I think there's one home here. There may be one there still, I'm not sure.
but it also looks like, and I know that's not the subject property, but it looks like that one does have a driveway or service road off of 42.
Yes.
Yeah, right there.
Yep.
Do you know if this access easement services those two lots? Do they use this access easement?
No.
Okay, so
So
this
this-
access easement then is dedicated for the lots that are yours. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 lots, of which there are 2 homes and one that has burnt.
Correct. And just something to note here, everything you see in yellow, well, down to here, this was all one big farm. It was a Revolutionary War grant, and it got split up over the years. So this used to all be ours, and then we're just down to what's in the red here, and they kept this just to get out, basically.
Okay.
And is that an easement or is that actually property owned by you?
Say that again?
Is it an access easement or is it actually like a strip of?
We own that.
Okay, and how wide is it?
Couldn't tell you. Maybe if you split it into lanes, it'd be 3 driveways. It's a drive, and then there's grass on one side that's maybe 10 feet,
Okay.
15 feet. And then on the other side, it's probably 30 feet wide.
Okay.
So what's that, maybe 50 feet?
Just want to make sure there's room for like utilities, things like that.
So Tate, a question for you. On an access easement, you just heard the top 2 lots. This access easement does not service the top 2 lots, although it goes through these 2 lots. The access easement is not wholly, is the access easement wholly owned by you?
It is.
All the way to 42?
Yes. This has stayed with the property, well, as long as I know. Maybe it would take some title deed research or something, but.
I don't know. So do we, what say you from a legal perspective as far as, maintenance of a access agreement with the other 2 properties, even though it doesn't service them, it does cross their land. It's owned by property in the back. Do we need something that,
I think there needs to be an access easement with a road maintenance agreement because it's gonna, keep running into this before. Maybe family operated, but families have issues, and I just think you're better off with a road maintenance agreement involved on the property, especially if somewhere down the line you decide to sell off and families.
exactly?
Yeah, that was my understanding, that we would be required to draw up some sort of agreement about maintaining the drive.
I just think it's a wise thing to have. Dedicated easement with road maintenance agreement would be wise to have.
Yep.
Who told you that you didn't need that?
No, I said we were advised we would need that.
You would need
If
that,
we went
okay.
this path, we were
Okay.
going to have to work that. Because right now, we've had even family disputes
You just gotta
about who's going to pay for
handshake.
Every
gravel.
family does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and you were also granted approval for this access easement to service the 4 properties, right, that you own. And you're looking for road frontage of 0.
How'd you get 4 properties involved in it instead of 3?
Well, that's right here.
Okay, that's your.
Yeah, they got that at the planning commission here a couple months ago. So you've got the approval to have it service 4 instead of 3. If we put a condition, and I'm even thinking if this board should or could, so I'm looking to staff on this, are you accepting a condition that says the access easement would not service, or is dedicated to the 4, and we list the 4, which means it does not service the top two properties. Even though you do have, in another condition, would be an agreement, an access maintenance agreement
Yes.
with those other two properties, even though it's not serviced from those other two properties.
Right, and I'm not sure if this comes into play, but we let these folks use our driveway to get in here with their agricultural equipment because 42 is so
And that's
dangerous
what I'm
these
saying,
days.
so now you're saying it services 5 properties?
Not legally, no.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's just a friendly thing we do for them.
Okay, so, all right.
I mean, if we closed up the fence that we
I know,
own,
I
they
know.
would not be able to get in. Yeah, but
All right, so
we
maybe we
like
just
them.
stick it at an agreement, a road maintenance agreement is required, and leave it at that. You know,
I think so.
okay.
Any other questions for me?
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Board, questions for anybody? Okay, I'm gonna close the floor, open up for discussion. Okay, no discussion, I'm ready for a motion.
Okay. I'd like to move to approve the conditional use, docket OC 25-005, because the proposed use is essential and desirable to the community and not in conflict with the elements, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan based on one or more of the following factors. Just say that granting the conditional use permit will allow the proper integration into the community of a use, well, scratch that. I think I'm just going to stick with the character and objectives of the proposed use and the potential impacts on the community and its surroundings are appropriate. With the listed conditional requirements or conditions of approval, that the road frontage variance shall only apply to the application considered at the March 6th, 2025 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. A minor plat application and survey must be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to the issuance of any building permits.
Second.
There's one more condition, that we must have a road maintenance agreement in place for the property.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? It's been approved.
They did get your road condition.
All right. Minutes from January, any changes, modifications?
There's a meeting here Thursday night.
Uh-huh.
Regular meeting.
Yeah, well, hang on. So can I get a motion to approve minutes from January?
I move we approve the minutes.
Can I get a second?
second.
Thank you, Charles. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Minutes approved. Any other business? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Second?
Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned.